They see you as small, manageable, safe. They've sized you up, made their calculations, decided what you're capable of, and they got it wrong. Every single one of them. Here's what they don't understand. Being underestimated isn't a disadvantage. It's the most strategic position you could possibly occupy, while they're looking past you, dismissing you, moving on to what they think are bigger threats. You're operating in a space of absolute freedom. No pressure, no surveillance, no resistance. You know what happens when everyone expects you to fail? They stop watching. They stop interfering. They give you room to move, to build, to transform, without constantly questioning your every decision. That space, that invisibility, that's not weakness, that's oxygen. Think about it. When someone believes in you completely, when they see your potential clearly, what do? They watch, they advise, they try to guide you, shape you, push you in directions they think are right. Their expectations become a cage, even when those expectations are high, especially when those expectations are high. But when they underestimate you, when they think you're not capable of much, they leave you alone. And being left alone, being free from the weight of other people's projections and assumptions, that's where real transformation happens. That's where you get to become who you actually are, not who everyone expects you to be. Most people spend their entire lives trying to be seen, trying to be recognised, trying to prove themselves to everyone around them. They exhaust themselves, performing, explaining, justifying. They shape themselves to fit other people's ideas of what success looks like, what power looks like, what capability looks like. And in doing so, they lose access to their actual power. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need validation, or recognition, or applause. It just moves, quietly, efficiently, while everyone else is distracted by louder, flashier things. You've been given a gift. The people around you, the ones who looked at you and decided you weren't much. They handed you invisibility. They gave you the freedom to operate without scrutiny, to make mistakes without judgment, to grow without interference. Most people would kill for that kind of space. You got it for free. There's a reason underdog stories resonate so deeply. It's not just about rooting for the little guy. It's about watching someone move through the world unburdened by expectation, unconstrained by what everyone thinks they should be doing. There's a purity to that, a directness. When you're not trying to meet anyone's standards, but your own, you can move in ways that surprise everyone, including yourself. The person everyone believes in, they have to be careful. They have to maintain the image, live up to the hype, not disappoint. Every move is watched, analysed, judged. That pressure, even when it comes from love and support, it limits you. It makes you cautious. It makes you second guess. But you're free. Free to fail spectacularly without it being a scandal. Free to try weird approaches nobody else would think of. Free to pivot, change direction, start over, without having to explain yourself to a crowd of invested observers. That freedom is everything. By the way, our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. Here is what's really happening. When someone underestimates you, they're revealing their own limitations, not yours. They're showing you the edges of their understanding, the boundaries of their imagination. They can only see what they're capable of seeing. And if they can't see your potential, that's information about them, not about you. When someone with a small vision looks at you, they see small possibilities. When someone who's never taken risks looks at you, they can't imagine you taking risks either. When someone who's never transformed themselves looks at you, they assume you'll stay exactly as you are. Their underestimation is just a mirror of their own experience. It has nothing to do with what you're actually capable of. So, when they dismiss you, when they don't take you seriously, when they make it clear they don't think you're a threat or a contender or someone to watch, they're really just telling on themselves. They're announcing the limits of their perception. And those limits don't bind you unless you accept them as truth. Most people do accept them. Someone says you can't, and you believe them. Someone implies you're not smart enough, talented enough, strong enough, and you internalize it. You make their limited vision your reality. That's the trap. Not the underestimation itself, but your agreement with it. But if you understand what's actually happening, if you see their dismissal for what it is, a statement about their perception, rather than your potential, then it can't touch you. It becomes background noise, irrelevant data, something happening over there that has nothing to do with what you're building over here. And while they're comfortable in their assessment of you, while they've mentally filed you away, as not a concern, you're moving, learning, practicing, building capacity they can't see because they're not looking. They already decided what you are. They're not checking to see if they were right. That's the secret advantage. Not that you're underestimated, but that their underestimation makes them blind. They stop paying attention. They stop tracking your moves. And by the time they look again, if they ever look again, you're not who they thought you were. You're someone else entirely. Someone they wouldn't have let become who you became if they'd been watching. There's a phenomenon in nature. Certain animals survive by being overlooked, not by being the strongest or the fastest or the most impressive, but by being uninteresting, unremarkable, easy to ignore. And while the predators are focused on the obvious threats and the obvious prey, these creatures move freely through the environment, thriving precisely because no one's paying attention to them. You're doing the same thing, not because you're hiding, not because you're afraid, but because you understand strategy. You understand that attention is a form of control. When people watch you, they influence you. Their expectations, their judgments, their projections, all of that exerts pressure. It shapes how you move, what you attempt, what you believe is possible. But when no one's watching, when everyone's already made up their minds about what you are and moved on, you're free. Free to experiment, free to fail, free to try things that would seem crazy or impossible if you had to explain them to an audience of skeptics. Some of the biggest transformations happen in silence, not because they're secret, but because they're fragile. Early stage growth needs protection. It needs space to unfold without constant evaluation and critique. A seed doesn't need an audience. It needs darkness and time and the right conditions. Only later, when it's strong enough, does it push through the surface and become visible. You're in that underground phase, building roots, developing capacity, and the fact that no one's hovering over you, checking your progress. Demanding results, that's not neglect. That's perfect conditions for growth. Eventually, yes, you'll surface. Eventually your work will become visible, and the same people who dismissed you will be confused by what they're seeing. They'll try to make sense of it, reconcile who you've become with who they thought you were. Some of them will rewrite history, claim they always saw your potential. Others will feel threatened by your emergence, exactly because it disrupts their understanding of how things work. But none of that matters. By the time they're reacting to you, you're already past them. You've already done the work. You've already become who you needed to become. Their delayed recognition is just noise. Right now, in this moment, you have something most people don't. You have freedom of movement. You have the space to make mistakes without consequences. You have the luxury of being underestimated, which means you're undervalued, which means you're operating with almost no resistance. Use it. Not as motivation to prove them wrong. That's still playing their game. Use it as space to become yourself without asking permission. To build capacity without justifying every step. To transform without having to narrate the transformation for an audience. When you're underestimated, you're dangerous. Not because you're angry or resentful, but because you're unmonitored. No one's managing you. No one's trying to contain you. No one's setting boundaries on what you're allowed to attempt. They don't think you're capable of anything that requires boundaries. That's the advantage. Not that you're better than they think, though you probably are. Not that you're going to shock them, though you probably will. The advantage is that while they're sleeping on you, you're awake. You're working. You're becoming. And by the time they notice, it's already done. People talk about proving doubters wrong, like it's the ultimate goal. But that's still giving them power. That's still centering their opinion, making your success about their failure to see you clearly. Real power doesn't care about vindication. Real power just builds, while everyone's looking elsewhere, and shows up fully formed when it's ready. You don't need them to see you now. You don't need them to believe in you, or validate you, or take you seriously. That's the whole point. Their underestimation has released you from needing anything from them. You're free to move according to your own understanding, your own vision, your own timeline. Most people never get this gift. They're either overestimated, which means they're under constant pressure to perform, or they're accurately estimated, which means everyone's tracking their moves with realistic expectations. Both of those positions come with surveillance, with management, with other people's ideas about what you should be doing and how fast and in what direction. But you're off the map, under the radar, moving through territory where no one expects you to be. That's not a problem to solve. That's a strategic position to leverage. When you finally emerge, when your work becomes visible and undeniable, some people will be happy for you. Some will be confused. Some will be threatened. Some will try to claim credit or proximity. None of that matters. The real victory isn't their recognition. The real victory is that you became who you needed to become without their permission, without their input, without their limiting beliefs, constraining your development. You did it in the dark. You did it alone. You did it while they were busy underestimating you. And that makes everything you've built entirely yours. Not shaped by their expectations, not limited by their imagination. Just yours. So take the underestimation, take the dismissal, take the lack of attention, It's not an insult. It's the exact conditions you need to become dangerous. Not dangerous in a destructive way, but dangerous in the way that anything truly free is dangerous. Unpredictable, unconstrained, capable of anything, because no one told it what it wasn't allowed to do. They think they know what you are. Let them think it. While they're comfortable in that certainty, you're becoming something else entirely, something they never saw coming. Not because you were hiding, but because they stopped looking. If being underestimated has lit something in you, if you feel the freedom in being unseen, write in the comments, "They underestimated me." Write it as your acknowledgement of the advantage you've been given. Nobody